Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph Labella.
And I'm Lou Spagnola. Ron Sen could not be with us tonight. He was ill, too ill to attend, so here I am filling in for him. What would you like to start with tonight?
Coaching youth sports, Lou. We just had our tryouts. I'm coaching the 7th grade team in middle school. Ron Sen's coaching the 6th. And our philosophy, especially my philosophy, has always been, and when you're a high school teacher, you've been teaching how many years now?
5.
5 years. I like to basically get my team, really give them a schedule that's really tries to get them to the next level. I know where they are right now as a group. I want to get them to play A-League ball in 2 different leagues, 2 of the best leagues in the state. They're at a level now where they're close, and we have to push them in practice, and I have to get them to that point. I know where I have to get them to, and they actually know. I've been coaching them for a year. What is your thinking? Do you believe in that? Do you want to push these kids where they're 7th graders now to get them to that level, or do you take it easy and maybe lose a year?
Well, you know what? I think these are the formative years, because I think what happens is you can put so much into somebody, and then maybe they don't take it seriously. Maybe they think they can get by on, I'm good, I was always the best athlete in my class or in the schoolyard. And then what happens is they face a little bit of adversity and they wilt. And unfortunately what happens is they decide, well, this isn't for me. And I think a good coach knows when to be firm. And, sometimes, coaches get made out to be ogres. Because somebody walks up to the practice and says, wow, that coach is tough. And it's like you don't know the whole story. You don't know what went into it. I think you have to know when to be tough. And I think some of the kids really could use that. That it's not going to be beneficial to them to say, oh, well, okay, well, yeah, we'll get them tomorrow. Sometimes you got to say, hey, you don't necessarily have to get up in their face, but you got to do something, I think, beyond just the, lift them up, fluff their pillow.
See, I've been coaching middle school girls basketball since my youngest daughter played 15 years ago. And it's been 15
It was
straight
contagious
years.
for you, right?
It's been great. I enjoy it. And it's a travel team. See, to me, travel teams are different than playing on rec teams. Because those rec teams, you have players down there that just want to play the game, get out, enjoy themselves. The parents want to get them involved, make new friends and whatever. And I believe on a travel team, you want to do the best you can for these girls. And my philosophy has always been, you want to, instead of playing B-League ball, I want them playing A-League ball. I want them to realize what it takes to get to that level and the hard work it takes. But I've been very lucky with my groups because they eventually get to that level where they're competing against the best. And I've always felt the best feeling in the world is when you know you can go up against the best teams. Not necessarily beat them, but compete against them. So when you go into a Walpole gym, playing a powerful Walpole gym team, you are a Pentucket. You know when you go into those games that you're good enough to compete with them. To me, that's the best feeling in the world. You don't want to constantly beat teams that are not as good as you and have a record of, say, 19, 20-0, 20-1. And me as a coach realizing that when they get into high school, they're not going to be ready to compete against the best.
That's the truth. The thing about a traveling team, when you go into a hostile environment, and let's face it, even when you're in the 8th grade, you get that feeling of, wow, I'm not playing in front of my friends. I'm not playing in front of the parents that I know. This is real. These people don't like us. You go in and you bond as a team, and I like traveling teams. I like it when people get out there and go somewhere else. For that alone, just the bonding experience. But then on top of it, you're dealing with an element of, today there's a lot of distractions. I think today's athletes, people like to say, well, when I was a kid, it was so much better. I think because of the amount of distractions there are today, I think the athletes, people that really want to play sports, I think those people today, kids, are just as passionate as probably I was when I was a kid, because you know what? There are a million distractions now, and yet you'll see a kid really want to work on their jump shot. You see a kid out in the yard throwing it up there 100 times, and you think, wow, well, I want to coach that kid. I want to work with that kind of kid. That's why, to me, it's a real fine line today. When you get a kid that you really, really want to work with, and you say, I know I can get I know I can get them to the A level. They have that talent, they have that drive. Some cases you don't have either. But it's just, you say, okay, it's a good kid. I like being around them, and they're good for the team, and everybody likes them, and I have a role for them. And, that's what I like. It's like no different than a classroom, is you say, okay, this is the star of my classroom. This is the student that I'm going to be staying after school with every week. But it all brings you together as a class, and it's kind of similar with the team,
How many coaches do you think really, for this group I have now, they become, I talk about being the ultimate competitor. Most of them have become the ultimate competitors now. Last year when we started off, half of them weren't. They didn't know really how to compete at a high level, and they're getting used to it. And the more and more they're competing against teams we're going up against, they're becoming that tough competitor that you need. Because to me, I think number one above talent is the competitor you are. You need to be a great competitor, number one. And from there, you need to have the brains, the smarts to play that, and then the talent comes through. But again, this group I have, they're getting to that point. But you know what it is, Lou? And I look at it too, and I say to myself, after tryouts, we had a great first day of tryouts. The second day we scrimmaged, and we didn't have a good scrimmage. But a lot of that had to do with the defense the girls were playing. And I'm looking at it, and I'm going home as a coach, and I'm kind of down a little. I'm going to say, to get to be able to play against Walpole and Pentucket, which I know we can compete against, it's going to take a lot of work, and we all have to be on the right page. And you enjoy that, but you need everybody to be on that page, the parents as well as the players.
That can be the most important part, actually, is because, there's too many, and it's cliche, the hockey parents or this is my father, he used to play, or my mother used to play. It seems like if you could get the parents to understand, I'm the coach, this is what I want to do, and this is how we're going to get there. It's not going to be easy, but just, the last thing you need is parents oh, he's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's doing, I would have done this, I would have done that. There's going to be armchair quarterbacks everywhere, but that's, to me, though, when it comes to being a coach, you don't want to be questioned. And I don't mean, that you have this, complex of I know it all, but if you can get all the kids on the same page, you get all the parents on the same page, it's like you already won. It's already a victory.
Yeah, we have that now. The one thing I've always had, it seems like in girls' sports, I've never had problems with parents. It's just something about girls' sports. I think with parents and the players know you really care about them, they'll just about let you push as much as you, because they know you care as much about them as just about anybody but the parents.
Right.
So if they know that, they're going to let you push and push. And the girls want to be pushed. The last group I had that are sophomores in high school, they wanted it. They wanted it as much as Ron and I wanted it for them. And this group is starting to get there, and that's why I'm confident that they can compete. But I got them in a league. I put them in Metro West A League. It's an unbelievable league. It's the best league in the state, and I have them in the River Valley A League this year. So every game is going to be, you're going to be banging heads every game. It's not going to be like you're going up against a team, you're going to beat them by 20. But that's the best feeling in the world. I love that as a coach, knowing that my team's prepared. The girls are looking forward to playing against a Pentucket. Like I said, King Phillips, travel down there. And it's going to be great because game after game is going to be a big game. But the one thing they got to realize, and they are realizing it, some people may not, that say you go in a 45-game schedule, say you go 25-20 in that schedule. If you had a lesser schedule like teams used to have, and you went 42-3, you're better off playing against that talent and going with that type of because you're playing against future MVPs and future all-league players.
Oh, yeah. Well, the way it's no different than even in the pros. In pro football, if you go 4-0 in September, let's face it, everybody wants to anoint you the Super Bowl starter. And it's really, to me, sports, life, it's that same thing. It's not how you get knocked down, it's how you get up. And to me, I would rather put a kid up against the toughest. Obviously, it's a building process. You don't want to just throw kids in when they're over their head, because then they will wilt, and they will say, okay, we can't compete. Why is he doing this to us? But when you give a kid a taste of success, give them a taste of adversity. It's what they do they used to do with the young boxers back when they had boxing was a sport. You'd put a kid in, you'd say, all right, I got this guy, this southpaw with he's got a jaw that you'll never knock him out. And so you send the kid in, and he's cocky, and he goes in, can't put the guy down. The southpaw's hitting him from everywhere. He's not used to it. And he comes out of that fight saying, "Why did you do that to me?" And the trainer says, "You just got a free education. You never would have learned what you just learned had I just trained you and you kept beating up on tomato cans." You know. And that's what it is. The thing is, it's an art. It's an art form as a coach. You got to get them in there and, all right, here's a win. This is going to be a tough game. And obviously you can't pick opponents.
Yeah.
So you got to say, all right, I got to get this done in the training room. And then, we're going to practice. We're going to scrimmage. I'm going to give you what I can. And then you're going to go out there and I hope, or as you guys, you're reasonably certain of your methods because you've been doing it long enough. You say, now it's your time to shine.
How about pro football now? What are you thinking? Especially with the Patriots.
That's going to be that's going to be interesting. I'll tell you, because when I think about the Patriots, I mean, we've been lucky. Obviously we've been blessed around this area, but I think of the 1980s Cowboys. I think of that were good enough that people still call them America's team. They still got their 10 wins a season, and then they'd wilt in the playoffs, and because they weren't built for it. And this Patriots team, let's face it, you have Tom Brady. He's still a great quarterback. Is he as good as he was 5 years ago? Probably not, but I don't know. Okay, Peyton Manning's that age, and he's putting up record numbers.
Well, you know why, Lou? This is what it comes down to, and I told Ron this about a month ago. He can be as good as he used to be if he has the players to play with.
Yeah, and he doesn't.
You know what I mean? If he has, but the offensive line, I'm encouraged. I think guys like Dever, who they were knocking 3 weeks ago, he's starting to get it. Conley's been out and Stork's been out with the concussions, but the rest of the guys, Wendell's playing good, Solder's playing a little better, Vollmer out there is playing a little better. So I think the offensive line, that's what's encouraging. They're getting better, and as the year goes on, they're going to get better and better. But it comes down to, when they talk about Brady losing it a little, well, if he's got players like Manning's got, he's going to get better. Yeah, it's that simple.
Manning has much better receivers.
He's got better stats now since the operation, and he's 38 or whatever he is because of the team he's playing with. Same thing with Brady. If the offensive line continues to get good and the receivers stay healthy, he's going to have a real good year. He could have a great year as a year.
And you know what it is? The key to the Patriots, I mean, it's line play is going to be what dictates it, because I'll tell you, we'll get to the defensive line in a second. Offensive line, I think it was, nobody really talked much. Dante Scarnecchia retired. And anytime you bring in a new coach, I mean, let's face it, it's not like this new coach is going to walk in and say, okay, well, what did Dante do? That worked? Okay, let's do it. He's going to come in, he's going to have his own methods, he's going to have his own little refinements. He's going to say, let's try and improve on last year, because, you got to protect Brady. And, the results at the beginning of the year were horrific. It was patchwork. They were moving guys around, guys getting hurt, guys ineffective, getting benched. Well, now they're playing a lot better. And if there's anything more important in football than a cohesive offensive line, then I haven't been watching football my whole life, because everything starts and ends there. Good line play gives the quarterback time to throw. And Brady has shown the last few weeks that all of a sudden he's finding receivers. It's not just the, Edelman show, and is Gronk okay? Is Gronk back? Okay, we're going to throw to him now. Brandon LaFell, he's found. Okay.
I'm high on LaFell.
He could be
know what I like
that
about
guy.
him? I mean, he's tall, he's lanky. When he catches the football, he thinks attack.
Absolutely.
And he's very good after the catch.
Yeah.
And Edelman, and you hopefully after Amendola's big catch for the touchdown, they really won the game last week.
Yeah.
You hope after that. But I don't know if I would have Amendola out there when Edelman's out there anyway.
They're similar. They're too similar.
Yeah,
I mean, unless you find a way to run two slots.
I'd rather have Dobson out there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as of now, Dobson and Amendola have been, I don't want to categorize them as useless, but.
And I'll tell you, another guy that I really like is Gray, a running back from Notre Dame. He's going to be their featured running back when they have to run, say they want to kill the clock at the end of the game. Not Vereen. Vereen's more of an open field runner.
Yeah.
He's okay. But Gray will get those extra yards. And with Ridley out, I think Gray's going to be the guy.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Ridley's, unfortunate. You can't plan on these injuries, I mean, and I don't know what else they're going to do, because they don't have a stable of running backs like maybe they had 3 years ago. So now's the time for him to step up. I would hope anyway that, because, I mean, as of right now, they're That's the thing, rushing. They're weak rushing the ball, and they're weak stopping the rush.
Well, we're kind of encouraged with their offense, how it's coming along. Let's talk about their defense now.
That's line play.
I'm sick over it.
Line play has been the biggest problem. They don't have a pass rush. And you know what? The last few years, that's been the problem. No pass rush. Then all of a sudden, mid-season, they'll start to get, because Belichick, he's not stupid. He'll open it up with schemes, and he gambles, you know. But if you're getting sacks on safety blitzes, off linebacker blitzes, off stunts and everything else, it's only going to get you so far. Eventually, they're going to pick up what you're trying to do, and you get no sacks.
You know what I've been saying for years, though? Even last year when we were talking about the Patriots defense, there's no rush up the middle. With Will Falk and whoever else, they got rid of Kelly, which was dumb.
Yeah.
You know, no Will Falk.
They didn't need someone like that, I know.
But Will Falk, how often does he need a quarterback? But you got to push the offensive line back into the quarterback's face when he's thrown off the back foot. They very rarely do that. Their rushes from the outside with Nikovich, and now that Chandler Jones is hurt, he's out for a month.
Yeah, that didn't
And they're
help.
going up against top-notch quarterbacks now. But there's no rush up the middle. You get that rush up the middle. I would start blitzing Hightower up the middle. Even if they don't get to him, you got rush penetration up the middle. It makes the quarterback uneasy. But what happens with the Patriots, Lou? They got Revis, they got Browner now. I think Ryan's going to get better and better. You know, Dennard. But how can they stay with a receiver if there's the quarterback's looking downfield with no rush?
And I'll tell you, the stats bear it out, because right now they are first against the pass, but that's because they're something like 25th against the run. And after all, how do you win games? You run the ball.
And look who they've played against, the quarterback so far.
Yeah.
Now they're going to be going up against top quarterbacks. So Belichick better not sit down and back in that zone. He's got to play Browner and he's got to play Revis on the ends. They got to play the bump and run.
They have to get up and receive his faces, because it's not going to be pretty if they don't.
And what I liked last game is Ryan got more playing time than Arrington, because Arrington's constantly getting beat.
Yeah, I know it. He's got tire
making
tracks
almost
on his
$4
back.
million.
I'm not a fan of his. I think, maybe whatever Belichick sees in him, I don't see it through my TV screen, but I think that tough man coverage is what they're going to need, because the Broncos, whatever they're going to do, they have multiple receivers. Welker is going to get his. Yeah. So what do? You're going to put one of your corners on Welker to shut him down. You got the two outside guys will kill you.
So that's where Revis, and that's where Brown is going to come in. They got to get penetration. But Lou, you could have the best cornerbacks in football. If you don't have a rush, it's going to be useless.
And I agree with that. That's the biggest problem with Will Falk. As he's aged, he did two things. Not only did he plug the middle that you could not run up the middle, but he pushed the pocket back.
Yeah.
Now he's become the hold the fort guy. You can't move him, but you can run around him.
Yeah. Well, we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Paul Rabel from the Boston Cannons, and you're watching Let's Talk Sports.
Welcome back. I want to welcome our special guest for today, Jen Gentile, the expert on Melrose High School sports. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you.
Why don't you just start talking about the volleyball team?
All right, great. Why not? They've been the big story of the fall season. They're, to really nobody's surprise, they're on the verge of a 20-win season. A win against Wakefield will cement their undefeated Middlesex League season. They're primed to be the Division II #1 seed. And I think the standings will be released on Tuesday. So as most people expected, they're ready for playoffs. They're going to do well in playoffs. And it's been a great season. There's been a lot of surprises. They had, I think last season, they had a lot of promise, but a lot of expectation was wait till you see them next year. And now we're here. And there's still an expectation like wait till next year as well. But right now, to focus on that, they're doing great. They're ranked third in the state. They're pretty much doing everything right now, and it's been an exciting season to watch.
Yeah, I went to watch. It seems like every match I have something coming up, either with my team or my grandkids.
Yeah, right.
But I missed a couple of their big matches, but I saw the Lexington match.
That was a tricky. Lexington's a good team, and that was a surprise. They took a set from Melrose, which is pretty rare. I don't know if you saw the Arlington Catholic game. But,
no, did you go to it?
Oh yeah, and it was.
Tell us about that.
Let me tell you, Arlington Catholic was surprisingly tough, and they'll be stiff competition. They're my pick to go to the D2 North finals with Melrose, and when they do, Melrose probably will prevail. but it's going to be tough because Arlington Catholic was a very good team.
Will they be seated second, though, behind Melrose?
I believe so.
Now,
I
Melrose has
believe
one
so.
more big match on Senior Day, right?
They do. That's a non-league match against Westboro. It's their senior night. Westboro, unfortunately for Melrose, Division I is actually the weaker league this year, a weaker division, I should say. Division II is kind of where all the talent is. So right now, so Notre Dame of Hingham is ranked number 1. They're sort of the presumed favorite to like win it all, which means that Melrose has to go through them to win another state title, which it can be done.
Yeah, they beat Barnstable
They beat
3-0, and I
Barnstable.
saw those scores, they beat them
Yeah.
big in every game. But
Yeah.
then Melrose went to Hingham to play
And
Notre
they
Dame,
took a set, which was
and
exciting.
they almost took the fourth set, too.
They did. It was a close game. So I think like earlier in the season, it's harder to beat a team like that. In playoffs, they're going to be playing in their prime. They can do it. It's just going to be hard. And I think Notre Dame is probably the top. They are the number 1 ranked team in the state, and they happen to be even Division II. So we have to go through them in order to win another state title. I think Melrose can do it. I think it's going to be a little harder than it was 2 years ago, but I do believe in them.
Well, it'd be great if they get to the Final Four. I mean, they have to beat Arlington Catholic. There's Weston over there that's pretty good.
Yes.
And I believe in Bishop Fenwick, they're not as strong as they were last year.
I think Arlington Catholic sort of took the role that Bishop Fenwick had last year. I was so impressed with Arlington Catholic. I didn't see it coming. They had a girl in the front row that was 6'3", who had an obscene amount of kills over the night. She was block killing everything. She was really good. And that was just a number of the qualities that they had here. But the thing that Melrose has for them is their serving is much better than last year. Their front row is great. Their attacking power is kind of ridiculous. They have 4, real mega hitters in Victoria Crovo, Hannah Mulcahy, Mary Lessing, and Marissa Cataldo. I would say Mary Lessing is probably the most capable because she's a part of that senior. I think she is, and Allie Nolan and Stephanie Crovo are the remaining members of the state championship team. And you can see that when they play. Mary Lessing really has an ability to take the game to another level. She's very confident in her ability. She's cool. She doesn't make mistakes very often. And Allie Nolan, you trust the ball in her hands
She's
every
very
time.
good.
She's so good.
Well, the thing with Allie Nolan, what I noticed in that Lexington match is that she's great at the net.
She is.
When you have a setter who's great defensively at the
Yes.
net, I noticed that. She was at the net constantly with either Lessing,
Yes.
Crovo, Mulcahy. Kat Thorby's coming along
Yeah,
too.
I'd love to see
as
what
the
she's gonna
opposite
do,
hitter.
yeah.
I think she has over 50 kills this year.
But Allie's a short girl.
Oh,
so
that-
to see her at the
but
net
no,
is
but she's
actually
strong.
Really, she's
she
strong,
gets up
yeah.
there when she gets her hands on the ball.
Yes.
The ball doesn't just tick off her hands.
Right.
But she's a great all-around setter.
She
can
is.
do it all.
She can do it all. And I think watching the game, I feel like there's a difference in their scoring opportunities if Allie's not in the rotation and Mary's not in the rotation. I feel like Melrose kind of dips back a little bit. And when they're in the rotation, that's when they go full force. And I really want to see them. They're going to be the big players in the playoffs.
Yeah, like last year when they lost to Bishop Fenwick in that game. Bishop Fenwick, that was their year last year.
That was their year.
Their
Yes.
year, and they didn't make it to the final. Yeah, they made it to the final four.
They made it. They got
out.
knocked out by. Yes.
But when
Notre
they
Dame.
lost to them, I said, I've been watching them for a number of years, 15 years, I believe, and I said that front line is going to be unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And if that back line, I know how Chelly's teams come.
Right.
They usually improve, and by the time the tournament comes, they're playing at a
Yeah.
high level. And what really makes me happy and proud, I have my 2 little friends back there in the back row. I went to that match, Caitlin McGinnis
Yes.
and Nolan, Caroline Nolan.
Caroline Nolan. Yeah,
And-
those are 2 players that are going to really be
and they were
impact
great
players,
in that
yeah.
match. I'm saying to
They
myself, wow, and they were both playing together, 2 sophomores. And I'm saying to myself, wow, they're just going to get better and better.
They are.
So you don't want to put the pressure on them.
Sure.
But as the year goes on, they're going to get better and better.
They are.
And they have Crovo, who's another sophomore, plays both
So, yeah,
ways.
Crovo's the one player that shows a little bit more finesse in her game in a high-pressure situation for an underclassman. I think I would trust the ball in her hand. She does know what she's doing. She's powerful. I think she learned a lot from last year's playoff experience. She comes prepared. The whole team does, really. But I think if I really had to find, one issue that they have to work on in playoffs, it'll probably be they give up a lot of points. A lot of times they let a ball go that they think is in and it's not, or
That's
I should say,
experience with
that's
that
an
young
experience
group.
thing.
And
I-
Kane's the libero.
yeah, and she's fantastic, but she can't do it all. And I think that there are a lot of times that they misread a ball. It comes back to haunt them a little bit. I'd like to see them clean that up before playoffs. I do think it's not something you can really learn. It's something you have to experience.
Right.
But hopefully they can limit that.
And I'm glad that Shelley has that match on senior night. He always schedules a top team to play. He did that when they won the states with Newton North, I believe. He scheduled them, and that was their only loss.
Yeah.
But it was a great match, and it got them ready for the tournament.
Yeah.
So, this team's primed. I mean, they're as good as anyone. They've showed it because they played the #1 team in the state close. They've beaten everyone else.
They have. Yeah.
So, you hope that they get by Arlington Catholic if they face them again.
Absolutely.
Who knows?
I think they will.
I think Weston could be tough, too.
Yeah, they're going to have to go beyond that. I don't know if they play Central or South this year.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And so we'll see how they do beyond the Division II North, which I think they'll win. It's going to be tough, but I think they'll do it. There's no sense of projecting, of course, but I think it's going to be a busy November also for the football team.
Yeah, but just to finish up on the volleyball team, I love when they play great teams. When two great teams are playing each other, people should go watch that because there's nothing better than watching two great volleyball teams going head to head.
Right.
But to get to the football team, which has been a great year.
I've been enjoying it.
I've been doing the games.
Watching it?
I love where the team's coming to. Corellis, I said it in the last game they played. I said he's becoming one of the top quarterbacks in the state.
I really I'm actually shocked about it because coming into it, he didn't have any varsity experience.
He can throw the football.
He can throw
and
the
he's
football
accurate.
and he can run.
Yeah.
But his accuracy is just something that I didn't anticipate.
Yeah.
He's
got good receivers too.
He has wonderful Will Caffey, Chris Pizzotti, Colby Andrews. They're helping him.
And the sophomore.
Pedrini. Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of weapons to work with, but this is a tough league. It's a team that has a lot of expectations, and having to step into the shoes of Malik Garrett wasn't that easy. But you would never know it. I talked to Coach Morris, and he said this is a kid that really studied the game. He spent every minute of as his JV in the JV role, learning the game, learning what to do, watching and learning, and he just did. To me, that's a wonderful experience. What JV is supposed to do. You're supposed to prepare your kids to perform at that level, and he has. He's done exceptional.
And I saw a picture of the whole team without their shoulder pads. He's in shape.
He's really in shape.
He's in unbelievable shape.
I saw him on the sidelines one time, and I went, wow, this kid's really in shape. So no wonder he can throw the ball so hard and he can run so fast.
But the team, you have Zach Mercer and you have Brian McLaughlin.
Brian McLaughlin's been fantastic.
That's one thing. You look at the kids. McLaughlin was a good player last year. Expect him to come back. He's a tremendous player this year.
An impact player.
He's an all-league player,
Yes.
and same thing with Zach.
Yeah.
The problem with Zach is they're not giving him a chance to run the ball.
Right, yeah.
He'd crush people.
He would. He's coming up so big on defense, though.
But, he hits. I saw him. They let him run the ball in one game, and he broke 2 tackles. He just ran through 2 linebackers. 3 people finally took him down. I would just love to see him run the ball 10 times in one game because people aren't seeing it. But they may be protecting his shoulder because he came started the season with the same thing with Hickey now. They're not letting Hickey run all that much.
Yeah, Hickey's, coming into the season, it was never like, looking on paper, how's this team going to look? And it's like immediately you thought of Hickey. And he's fulfilled his duties beyond what you expected, despite the injury. He picked up where Eric Mercer left off. He's the guy that scores the 4 touchdowns. And if it wasn't him, it would probably be McLaughlin or Pedrini. I mean, they've been very fortunate to have, the running game that they do. A perfect example was their win against Wilmington where they were able to throw 2 touchdowns and run for 2 touchdowns. So they're in the right balance right now, and I think they're going to do well.
Yeah, they totally dominated Wilmington. I knew they were going to after the Watertown game. That was a tough loss.
That was a tough loss, yeah.
They outplayed, the thing in that game, right?
They did outplay Watertown, I know.
Watertown played great.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything wrong. Melrose made mistakes.
Yeah.
But Melrose, you look at both teams and you're saying to yourself, Melrose is a better team. They have more talent than Watertown.
Right.
And they won't face Watertown because they're not in the same league.
Right.
But Watertown, I believe, is still undefeated.
They are still undefeated by luck, in a way.
Yeah.
They were very lucky to get away from Melrose. Not really sure what happened there. I think that Melrose is a little bit more prone to penalties than they were last season, and that has hurt them all through the season. So while they're very good about not turning the ball over, which they haven't, they've only turned it over like once or twice over the season, their penalties are too much, and I think they have to limit those to do well in playoffs.
Yeah. I think Slavicheski, here's going to be the key. Slavicheski and Feeney at inside linebacker,
Yes.
and Botello plays some inside linebacker.
Sure.
They're playing good. I think at times they're playing very good, but you got to be great. You got to be great. I mean, to me, Zach Mercer and Brian McLaughlin are great outside linebackers.
Yes.
Can Feeney and Slavicheski become great inside linebackers? They're very good. They're not hurting them. They're helping them. But to be able to compete against the Tewksbury
Sure.
teams, they got to get to that level. And
Yes.
it's not a knock. I mean,
Right.
neither one of them played linebacker. I mean, they're doing
Right.
to me, they've done a terrific job. But just looking at
Yeah.
that team, because in cornerback, Caffey's become very good at
Yes.
cornerback. Pizzotti's been very good, and Hickey a free safety.
Yeah.
So the defense and the defensive line, hey, when you're coached by Morris and you're coached by Kent, the reason why they're always strong at the offensive defensive line is because Morris has one of them, I think, the offensive line, and Kent has a defensive line. They're both great coaches,
Yeah.
and that's where their expertise is, right there.
Sure.
So that's why the lines are always stronger as the
Yeah.
year goes on.
I see Slavichevsky as one of those players that might do the Shriners game. He might be one of the people that are tapped for it.
Well,
He's
look-
had a very strong season.
He's like a cap. I don't know if he is. I don't think he is a captain, but he should be a captain.
Yeah, he
they
was
can't all
their
be-
one offensive lineman that came back that Morris was really, he almost like built it around.
He's playing
him.
the whole game.
Yeah, he's
him and
fantastic.
Doucette's centering.
Doucette, yeah,
and he's
Doucette's
playing
out.
defensive end.
Yeah.
I like Brian Mercer coming in at defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
Switching. I forget who's 88. He switches with that
Mm-hmm.
player, and then Govain and Dever's having a terrific season inside.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I'd say the whole team is doing really well. I think the one issue that is going to be a challenge to them is the fact that the Division III Northwest is actually really strong.
Yeah, well,
Like
Rubin's in
last
there.
year, it wasn't that strong. I mean, we had to battle Woburn and Marblehead.
Rubin's strong this year.
Woburn's fantastic. I mean, I haven't seen them, but I mean, for them, they sound better than Arlington. They're better than Watertown. We just happened to play against Arlington and Woburn, so we're probably going to cross paths with them. As of today, we're probably going to be playing Wayland next Friday.
Is that going to be the
Halloween.
start of the tournament?
Yes, and it's not official yet, but it should be probably hosted by us at Fred Greenfield on Halloween. And if Wayland beats Concord Carlisle this Friday night, we'll have to travel. So that's not that fun.
Well, Concord Carlisle's right ahead of them, aren't they?
Yeah, so that probably won't happen. But
And then we play Stoneham, which we should. I mean, after the Watertown game, I said it's going to be really tough beating Melrose. I mean, the team
Right.
is, you could see the team coming
yeah,
together.
sometimes they
They
do
have
more
it all.
losses than they do wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Masco win, and that was the same thing.
Well, look at the
Melrose
two
had that game,
losses.
and-
The two losses is an
yeah,
overtime
they're
in
actually
Masco.
4 points from being undefeated.
Yeah.
That's Melrose right now.
And
So
then the point afters killed them in the Watertown game.
Yeah,
But they don't
I
want
know.
to
Oh,
hear
yeah, I won't
I know
talk about
coaches
that.
don't
I
want
won't
to
talk about that.
hear any more from me.
Yeah, I know. Just, is there any other sports we should?
Yeah, I'm talk about the soccer teams.
yeah.
The girls were doing great. I read in the paper.
Yeah, they were doing well. They were in the hunt. They had a tough week. I think it was on Thursday night. They had a do or die game against Wakefield. They came up short 5-1. So their season is not officially over, but they won't be qualified for tournament this year.
How is my friend Ann Morrison doing? Have you seen her?
Oh, she's lovely. Yeah, she's good. I like her in cross country. No, track. She does track. Yeah.
But she was I had her in basketball in middle
yeah,
school.
Yeah. And another great, huge surprise this season is the boys cross country team. They claimed the Middlesex League this
Wow.
week, which was not so much as a surprise, but they're a young team made up of 3 very talented sophomores that have. That beat Wakefield, which is almost unheard of because they're a very strong cross-country team. So they had an undefeated 6-0 season. It's the first time since 1997 that they've won the league. So that was a huge surprise this sports season. Fantastic for the school. The girls team ended their regular season at 4-1. They have Elizabeth Hirsch, who's very strong on that team. So they're going to go into the Middlesex League meet next week, and then they'll do sectionals in state. And you'll see some of these kids do very well. The cross-country programs are real healthy in this city. But and also the girls swim is having a really good season.
Yeah,
too.
they've been pretty good lately.
They beat Reading, which is unheard of. They beat Reading last week.
We got a couple of minutes here. Let's
Yeah.
talk about the winter sports teams. Have you heard anything about let's talk about the 2 hockey teams
Oh, well.
and the 2 basketball teams. Do you know?
I don't know anything just yet. I usually get those phone calls after the sports seasons wrap up. I have no reason to believe that the basketball team won't be great. Colby Andrews was fantastic. Do you remember how he ended the season last year? He was getting like 22 points a game. He's obviously a very talented football player. He's healthy. I think he's going to do a lot of good things. And in hockey, the coach is just so great. He's going to, I almost kind of translate the football success into the hockey success.
He had a lot of good young players last year.
He did, and
I know he lost some good seniors into Raphael and Mercer.
Right, and you know,
Judlaw, was it Judd?
Judware, Elliot Judware, yeah. And so I think that, you know, if the football team does really well, it's a reasonable conclusion that the hockey team will do pretty well because they pretty much are the same roster. I don't think that's going to change.
Yeah, and they got Zach back.
They have Zach, who's a fantastic
He's
player.
quick.
Yeah.
He should be a superstar this year. If he got a little quicker with his skating, he was quick last year.
He had the injury.
I'll tell you one thing. No, it's a real shame is not many people know about the girls hockey team, but the girls.
I hope they do because
I'm telling you, this year they're going to become one of the best teams in the Middlesex League. Those tremendous 8th graders from last year. I mean, they're going to be if they're all back healthy. You know, I can't name them all right now, but they had girls like Henry. She was I think a sophomore, or junior last year. She's going to have a good year. There's going to be a couple of girls that are going to be juniors and seniors.
Yeah.
And but those last year's 8th graders are going to be unbelievable this year. They're going to be stars in that league.
That's great.
And I hear the goalie, who's going to be an 8th grader, if they let her play, then this team could be a power again.
That's fantastic.
But they could take off in the next 2 years. They could be state champs with the talent they have.
That would be
They've
nice.
won it in youth sports for
Yeah.
like 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
You know, and then the basketball team, the girls' basketball team. I'm looking for the girls' basketball team to make the tournament and battle for the championship. I'm looking at all the teams that played last year. All the strong teams were senior heavy. They're losing all their seniors. We were very young.
We were young.
You know, we were very young. If things work out, you know, if they get off on the right foot early on, I think they can battle. I think there's no reason why they can't go 16-4 in that area. And they'll have Allie Nolan back.
Sure.
You know, she was
Victoria.
injured last year. You know, and the young girls, plus every class has, you know, I'm looking for Sullivan to have a big year as a senior.
That's right.
With Nolan and some of the other girls. And so the junior class can be strong. The sophomore class is going to be very strong. I don't know if they're going to have a freshman team because there weren't many 8th graders playing last. They didn't even have a team, middle school team last year. But I think it's going to be a real good year for both hockey teams, and I think it's going to be a real good year for both basketball teams. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good overall year for Melrose High School. Every sport seems to have, you know, some great, you know, all-league players, and it's always fun to watch.
And we got the girls volleyball team and the football team to look forward to.
Yeah, they're going to keep us busy in November.
Very competitive,
Right?
and they're going to make everybody proud. Well, thanks for coming
Thank
in,
you.
Jen.
Thank you so
Been
much.
Great. We'll be right back. Hello, and welcome to a pre-playoff special. We're here at Stoneham High School. Melrose just beat Stoneham High School 27-0, and they'll be starting the playoffs next week. Melrose is looking really sharp. They're playing the best football lately, and I look for good things from Melrose, Ron.
All right, Ralph, you always talk about identity of teams, and Melrose has established themselves as a versatile offensive team with a strong passing game and consistent running game, but also they've had 2 consecutive shutouts, so they've been able to keep opposing teams off the scoreboard, even if they've allowed them to move up and down the field between the 20s from time to time.
Yeah, we saw this game here start off slow, but Corellis is looking real sharp at the quarterback spot. Receivers have been playing terrific with Andrews, Pizzotti, Caffey, and they've looked very, very sharp in the last 3 games. Corellis today had 3 touchdown passes for over 200 yards. So that's 3 passes that were combined for over 200 yards. And Melrose is just looking extremely sharp offensively. The offensive line is really coming along. Early in the year, Ron, I was a little worried about the offense, but they've really put it together, and I think they're going to carry them along with that great defense.
Well, a big factor in success in playoff competition or playing against the best teams is limiting mistakes. Melrose played without turnovers today. Corellis didn't throw anything approaching an interception, and the only issue they have is a little bit of occasional offensive holding.
Yeah, and that offensive line, again, they open up holes for them pretty well. Today, Stoneham's game plan was to plug up that inside. Melrose, after a slow first half, came out in the second half, threw the ball well, opened up things. They're going to have to do that when they play these real good teams. They're going to be tough to run on. You've got to open the game up, Ron. Get the teams to string their defense out, and then you can run the ball.
Well, it's interesting to see how teams play. We've seen a lot of wide-open offenses in the Middlesex League, and this game reminded me a lot of last year's game against Wilmington. Stoneham was totally committed to running the ball between the tackles, and although they had some early success, Melrose was able to shut that down. Good teams are going to be able to be versatile and have more balance, both offensively, passing, and rushing, and we know we're going to see that in the postseason.
Yeah, I think their strength on defense are the outside linebackers. with Zach Mercer and McLaughlin. They've done a terrific job this year. What I was really happy about today, especially the inside linebackers, Feeney I thought played his best game of the season. Botello came in, played strong, and Slavachevsky's just been sensational. He's gotten better and better. So I think the inside linebackers are going to be able to do their job with the play of the outside linebackers. They're going to be shot in good shape. Cornerbacks, Caffey, and Pizzotti are going to be under big-time pressure because you know they like to play that 4-4 defense.
Well, when push came to shove, Melrose was willing to open up the game tonight, and they've shown the ability to make the big play this season and other seasons as well. The coaching staff has a lot of creativity. I think they kept the ball pretty close to the vest in the first half, but in the second half, they really showed the extent of their offense, and I'm looking forward to good things.
Yeah, it should be great. I think they may be playing Wayland. That's what I hear, rumors, but they're not sure. It depends on what Wayland does against, I think Concord Carlisle, who's one of the top-rated teams in their division. So it should be exciting. I mean, I look for them to win a couple of games. I'm hoping they go up against Tewksbury again. Tewksbury has another great team this year, but I think Melrose will be ready for them. I think that, no one's going to want to play Melrose. They have everything going now. They have no weakness. It should be just a lot of fun, and hopefully it starts next week, and I think it does. Well, that's about it from here. We'll see you again next week. Thank you. Welcome back. Well, Lou, the Bruins traded Boychuk to the Islanders, and the Bruins are playing the Islanders tonight. What do you think about that Boychuk trade?
As they used to say on Ren and Stimpy, no, sir, I didn't like it. I was not a fan, and I'll tell you, in all honesty, I know they have young defensemen, and it's one of those areas that you say, well, they have Chara, they got Seidenberg, they got Dougie Hamilton, who I like, they got Krug, who's diminutive but good. He plays, he gives them what they want, a shooter at the blue line. They have Butkowski. But my thing is, if you're going to trade a guy like him, they got 2 second-round picks, and they were throwaway picks because other teams had acquired those second-round picks in trades. Not that that means anything, but, hockey's not like football, where football every round, because it's 7 rounds, that if a second-round pick in football is probably a starter. Third-round pick in football, well, Joe Montana was a third-round pick. 6th-round pick, Tom Brady. Anything can happen in football because there's only 7 rounds. In sports like baseball and hockey, I don't know. I think you lose a good defenseman like him, young, good, proven good defenseman. I don't like it. I'm not going to like it.
Well, every team needs a top 4 defenseman. You need 4 very good defensemen to be successful in hockey.
Yeah.
And they gave away a top 4 defenseman for 2 second-round picks. And like you said, they're not a sure pick, the second-round picks. That's why my question, I didn't know enough about hockey in that area, about the draft. But was Marchand a third, a second, or third?
Not sure where they got him.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you this. I think when you look at it, Seidenberg is older. He's coming off a knee injury. He's older. Chara is old. I'm almost thinking that, all right, I think he's a guy that, he'll never have to buy a drink in this town again. Chara is always going to go down as a Bruin. He's our generation, or maybe this generation, is always going to remember him as being a Bruin and not an Ottawa Senator or something else. I think, though, I wouldn't be surprised if April comes around and the Bruins are somewhere around 500 because they've lost a lot of talent, and I don't see them being a top 3 team anymore. I could be wrong. It's a long season, but I wouldn't be surprised if they trade him to a contender because he's got just enough gas left in the tank that they need these young defensemen to put in a lot of minutes, because if Chara's out there 20-plus minutes every game and he's not getting rested, he's going to be toast in the playoffs.
Yeah, and right now they're counting on Seidenberg to carry Krug on defense. Krug's been matching up with him.
Yeah, and it's a good move.
And, where Boychuk would be stronger there with Seidenberg, especially coming back, you got Hamilton now with Chara, who's Hamilton they're speaking highly of, and that's a perfect match with Chara. So if you had Boychuk and Seidenberg together, 2 strong defensive players, and both of them have good shots, especially Boychuk. But Krug, I love his offense. Do you think that makes up for his offensive play? where they're weaker on defense with him in there?
Yeah, I think he showed everything he needed to show when he first came up. If you remember that Rangers series a couple of years ago, you're like, well, yeah, this kid, he just won the cup down in the minors, and they sent him upstairs, and all of a sudden it's like, wow. He got 2 really great blue line shots put past the goalie, and you're like, wow, we might have something here. And he's proven to be that guy. He's not big. I don't know how big he is. I don't know if he's taller than Pedroia. I don't know if he's taller than me. But I know this much. He's got a good shot. And that was the thing about, I guess if you want to look at the flip side of the Boydchuk thing. Well, how many shooting defensemen? We have a number of shooting defensemen. So maybe you say, let's trade him. But what are you getting for him? I mean, I understand this was more cap related. This wasn't performance related. And this was, okay, maybe you figure, okay, we got a surplus of young shooting defensemen. So let's get rid of them. Maybe they weren't going to get much for Krug. Maybe you don't want to trade Hamilton under any circumstances because he's new. But I don't know. I don't like the move. And to be honest with you, the Bruins, I think that it's easy to criticize a team in any sport when you say, okay, they went all out, they went for broke. And we had 2 cup finals. We won a cup for the first time, since Bobby Orr played. That tells you something. But, okay, now you reap the benefits, and now you got to try and pare down the salary.
Well, compare McQuaid to Boydchuk. Compare them both. They're tough players. McQuaid's a tough player, too. He doesn't have the shot Boydchuk has.
That's the thing.
But isn't he close
shot
to him defensively?
Yeah, that's the thing. There's a lot of interchangeables. They don't have another Chara on the team. So, to me, it all starts with him. He's the guy that no matter what these people do, no matter what anybody else that they bring up or whatever pairings they do, when the playoffs come, you know what you're getting with Chara. You know you're going to stick him in for 27 minutes, as many minutes as you can get. You're going to double shift him. You're going to do all kinds of things with them to try and get the team to win. Okay. What else do you got? Well, you got a lot of other players that kind of look alike. And that's why, again, getting back to that, that's why I think they said, okay, we can trade Boydchuk because,
Do you think their philosophy is becoming like the Patriots' philosophy? They want to stay up there. I mean, if they're not, of course you want to win the Stanley Cup, but now they're thinking, okay, salary cap reasons, Boydchuk goes, we get 2 second-rounders. Look at the Patriots trading Kelly, letting Kelly go. Look at them with Mankins. Fans look at it now. They're looking at it this way. We want to win a championship. Patriots let Mankins and Kelly go for money reasons, which they're $12 million over the cap. So the Patriot fans are upset about that. And, Brady's really bull about that. Then you look at the Bruins fans. They want to win a Stanley Cup. And they're saying, what did we get for Boydchuk? We got 2 second-round picks. How serious are the Bruins about winning a Stanley Cup?
That's the thing.
So, that's what I look at.
It's the behind-the-scenes wheeling and dealing. You never really know. I mean, we're sitting there speculating, and my honest speculation, if I could put some, if you call it an educated guess, I say they had a number of young defensemen that fit the same mold, so they said, let's get rid of one that we can get something for. Our 2 second-round picks and a third if he gets traded to another Eastern Conference team. Are those picks enough to offset that? I don't know. Maybe 3 years from now, if they draft smartly. Then this is where now, as a fan, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to say, okay, well, do I have faith in Peter Chiarelli and Cam Neely? Do I put my faith in these guys? Because I'll tell you, you want to talk about the Patriots, and you say, well, you know what? Belichick has gotten by on his smarts and on Brady's arm. Because I'll tell you, his draft record for drafting wide receivers has been abysmal. Now, if the Bruins go and pick players with these second-rounders the way Belichick has with some of his picks, then we're going to sit back and say they would have been better off just keeping, Boydchuk. But they got bigger problems. Look at it. And, they lost Rich Peverly, and now Peverly, he's hurting, and, you can't, you don't know what's going to happen. Horton, they lost Nathan Horton. I didn't want to lose him. He's got a degenerative spine injury that he might never play hockey again. I mean, that goes up there with back in the Red Sox, Nick Osaski. They lost him to free agency, and he got vertigo down. You can't, you can't control that stuff.
The Bruins got to hope some of these young wings come through. They have some talent there. If a couple of them can come through for them, they're going to have a successful season.
It's going to be a long season, though.
But the fans want to win a Stanley Cup again. I mean, they have Chara. They have that. You know, Bergeron, Krejci.
Bergeron, one of the best two-way players in the league, and the thing is, he could set me up scoring a goal, but I'm not out there playing. And unfortunately, the guys that are out there are playing, it doesn't seem like they're going to have some problems scoring this year, I think. You know, and they probably going to have to hope Tuukka Rask stands on his head a lot. Then again, the season gets going, they'll probably be fine offensively.
Yeah, they'll be fine. Now let's get to basketball. Who do you think? What do you think about, say, San Antonio and Cleveland? Who do you like there?
I'll tell you, San Antonio, I had them buried. I thought, you know, they lost the finals 2 years ago to the Heat. They shouldn't have lost, but I was like, you know what? They've had a great run. Pop's one of the best coaches ever, if not the best. And I was like, you know what? They're doing the right moves to stay relevant, but I figured, you know, Duncan would just go out, the twilight of his career, as they say. And then there they are. They didn't just beat the Heat last year. They slapped them around in that final.
But you know, Lou, it comes down to we were talking about Brady. You know, Brady can be as great as he used to be if he has the players to play with.
Yeah.
Well, that's Duncan.
Duncan is.
Look at Duncan. He's got the players to play with, and he looks as good as he did 5 years ago.
He sure did.
Now, what if he was on a team that wasn't talented? How would he look? He wouldn't look too good.
Absolutely. And
But he looks great with this team. Same thing with, you know, getting to Brady. But you like San Antonio? How do you think Cleveland will do?
You know, that's the thing. It's hard to write off San Antonio. You know, you can't kill them. I mean, you know what? For me, I'm not a San Antonio fan, but it was a pleasure for me to watch them the last few years to say, you know, there's a team that they do things right. You know, and you know, Cleveland. It's tough to say. It really is because, you know, when LeBron went down to Florida, obviously he had, you know, a proven guy that had already won a championship in Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
And they brought Bosh in. And then, of course, you know, you never knew what was going to happen, but they made it to 4 finals in a row. Now, 2 of those years they were completely overmatched, I thought, and they still ended up, you know, last year they were overmatched. Who knew it?
They stole one the year before with
They
Popovich
stole
keeping
that
Duncan
one
on the bench.
Yeah, they stole that one. But you know something? There's going to be a lot to say, though, about Cleveland's growing pains. I think there's a lot of expectations that they're going to win because you got Irving in there. And can they play together? When we talked about
Love,
earlier.
too.
Love is going to be another one now. And you got, everybody likes to see the 3-headed monster, you know, and we talk about, you know, with the Dallas Cowboys, had the triplets, with, you know, the big 3, all of this talk. You know, they're going to have a great starting 5, but can they play together? You know, and the other thing is, Love and Irving, you know how many playoff starts they have? You know, that's the thing.
But you know,
0 playoff experience.
I think the thing with Cleveland is that Irving likes to handle the ball. He's the point guard. LeBron James wants the ball in his hands. You know, there's going to be something there where Wade didn't need the ball in his hands. He liked to finish. You know, so
Absolutely.
LeBron James handled the ball. He had Bosh who didn't want the ball in his hands until he was either going to shoot or pass. So that's going to be a key. And what do you think about their low post game? I mean, on defense.
Do they have one?
Yeah, they don't. I mean, Love.
That's the thing. And these are the things, though, that on paper they're a sexy pick. Everybody sees it as, you know, the scoring. I mean, let's face it. LeBron James, you can pencil him in right now. He's going to have 28 points probably per game. And they're going to win 50 games. You can almost guarantee it because the way the league is set up over the course of a year, they're going to steamroll some teams. And let's face it, the East is not that strong.
Watch out for Washington. I think Washington's going to be the second best team in that league.
They very well might be. I mean, you know, we've been talking about the Bulls for years. Yeah. The Bulls have been that team that you'd say, well, okay, well, Tom Thibodeau, he's going to bring a great defensive scheme there. And then Derrick Rose gets hurt. And then the next year, they look good, and Rose gets hurt. Rose is like Gronkowski. I mean, is it his fault? I don't know. You're 6 foot something and you're carrying 200 something pounds running up and down a hardwood floor. Anything can happen. But he's unlucky. And because of that, where is Chicago going? And then what's going to happen? Indiana. Paul George is done for a while. I don't know how long he's out for, but those are the kinds of things. You know, you build even though you don't win. This is the thing. Like I mentioned earlier, it's like when a football team goes 4-0 in September, it's a great confidence booster. It doesn't mean you're going anywhere, but at the same time, you're building something in September. You're getting like in football, your offensive line together. In basketball, there's a lot of formative things going on, as you would know as a coach, that people don't understand. And, you can go 2-11 and actually end up coming out of those 13 games better than you can if you go 13-0. Because you have a chance to fix things, you have a chance to move players in and out, make roster moves, and I don't know, when you look at the Pacers, losing George, that's not going to help that team early on. And
Yeah, I look for Washington in the East to give. Toronto's not bad, but I look for Washington to give Cleveland a go. I think Washington's maturing; they're going to be strong this year. And then I think San Antonio will come out of the West. There's no one. I mean, you got Durant out now for Oklahoma City, so you got to think it's going to be San Antonio and either against Cleveland or Washington. That's my pick. I like the Celtics. I'm going to have fun watching them. They're young. There's a lot of talent there. I'm telling you, they may battle for the 8th spot. I mean, they got Smart now and Young, 2 rookies. I like Olenek, how he's coming, and Sullinger's really coming on strong. Hopefully Green can have a half-decent season. I like Turner. They got Turner. So they got talent. They're going to be a fun team to watch. It should be really exciting. I really think so. I mean, I'm comparing them back to when they had Jefferson and Perkins and those guys in West. It was a lot of fun going to those games.
And that was interesting that you mentioned that, because obviously everybody forgot about that because, with the acquisition of, next thing you know, they got Garnett and the Big Three, the second version of the Big Three. And, everybody forgot that, I'm not saying that team would have done something, but you never know if they were allowed to grow another year and if they had acquired, different players. Who knows what might have happened. And in this case, I think you're right about that. I think they are going to be fun to watch because I think they're growing as a team. I like the way they play. The games I went to watch last year, they were fun. And, I just think, though, that, obviously, are they ready to compete with the San Antonio? Probably not. But what I want to see out of the Celtics as a local fan, I want to see them build on what they did last year. I'd like to see more consistency, and I'd like to see them battle out against the big teams that if they're not beating them, at the very least, you can compete.
Yeah, and I don't know. They're saying Rondo may be ready around the first game, but I don't even know. I would have loved to see them trade Rondo and just watch this team play. I think they're going to be very competitive, and I think they're going to battle for a playoff spot this year. But the one team I want to talk about, which you probably don't know much about because no one else does that I talk to, is the UConn girls basketball team.
UConn. I was thinking UConn Cornelius.
I got this from one of the board members. They don't sell these; they just give them to the players.
And that is nice.
And he came into the courthouse the other day. They voted on my team going to watch a practice. Me and my team going to watch one of their practices, which are closed, and they approved us going. And he brought me this jacket because he told them that I'm one of their biggest fans. And I've been, to me, forget the Celtics.
That's nice. I'm impressed.
I love the Patriots. I love the Celtics. I like the Bruins, and I'm a Yankee fan, of course.
We forgive you.
But of all the sports, and I love watching the Patriots play. I love watching the UConn girls play, especially in the big game. They're my favorite program out of any pro college team. And just watching them, no other team in sports, in all the years I've watched sports, executes the game like the UConn girls. Basketball is made, you watch the college boys, the pros, they're dunking the ball, they're taking the ball to the hoop, it's pass, dunk, finishing tall, 3-point shots. Forget about executing the game. You want to watch, even high school boys, middle school boys and girls, they should go watch the UConn girls, watch every game on TV, because out of any sport, they execute the game. They've won 9 national championships with Auriemma. He's been 5-0 against Tennessee, against those great teams in the final, playing them in the finals. And he's 9-0. His teams have been in the final game, and they've won all 9 games. His teams are so well prepared. This year, he's got a group that's coming back. They're going to be favored, and they're going to be. I know not many people want to hear it, but I got to take my 2 minutes about them. And they're playing the second best team in the country is South Carolina. All right, they got the number 1 pick coming in, a freshman, Lewis, 6'5", and they got their 9 top scorers back from the Final 8 team last year. But UConn, they lost 2 great players. They got 4 real good freshmen coming in. They got 4 real good players coming in next year. They could go on a run that's better than UCLA boys. UCLA boys, I think, have won 10 national championships over the years. I'm telling you, there's an excellent chance that over the next 4 years and longer, that UConn will have at least 11 championships and beat the UCLA boys.
Well.
But it's just a great program. REM has done a great job.
I'll have to keep an eye
And
on it.
people should watch their games. Anybody who has a child who loves basketball, boy or girl, watch every one of their games on TV. Watch how they execute the game. I can't wait to go to one of their practices with my team. Again, we've been approved to go.
Well, that's great.
And I can't wait to go to one of them.
And you know something, as a fan, I appreciate execution a lot more than flashiness, for the simple reason that flashiness is what gets stopped in the last 2 minutes of the game, and execution is what wins it. So, enough said about that.
But it's just great, and it's going to be great these next few weeks with the high school sports in Melrose. It's going to be great with the Patriots, see where they come. You got the Bruins, you got the Celtics. Well, that's about it here from here. Lou, I want to thank you for coming in. Another great job.
Thank you for flagging me down as I was driving by.
For Lou, I'm Ralph Lavella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.